Now, if you've watched any of my content recently, you'll know that I've started to get a bit of an emphasis on player traits and really focusing in on using players that have fantastic player traits that go with attributes. You see, there are many factors that go into player traits, and I feel like I know very little. But when you look into it, partnered with certain key attributes, can be absolutely game-changing for all of your tactical needs. And I've noticed a massive success of it. Remember Souček in the West Ham rebuild? Thomas Souček was our top scorer. 22 goals. He was obviously absolutely incredible. And if you take a look at this tactic here, the attackerless tactic, this relies on very good attributes, and it's even better partnered with very good player traits. For example, like speak the offside trap. If you don't have that, you don't really tend to get the runs that you need to break the defense to score the goals. It was crucial when I won 9 games out of 9 in the playoffs. I didn't have the same players when I played it the next time, and I lost. It just goes to show. Player traits, they probably mean quite a lot. Now, as a description, the player trait is defined as a player's traits or actions that he will be more likely to perform in matches. They do not give him an additional ability, so it's not an additional part of his attribute. It doesn't add to his current ability at all. However, it simply affects his decision making. That's quite an interesting statement, right? Because if we think about it, let's take a look at Aaron Wan-Bissaka, for instance. Now, he has a player trait of dives into tackles, and if we look at the definition of that, increases the frequency for which the player will engage into a tackle. It does not simply mean the player goes to ground when challenging for the ball. So it could mean obviously a standing tackle, but it means he will more likely go in for that tackle. But if we think about that explanation of player traits, it's said about the decision making of that. So with these player traits, is decision making a good idea to have? Another attribute that somebody told me might be quite crucial is teamwork. Now, I'm going to leave this one to an expert. You might know him as Busternet because I've been watching tons of his videos recently, and I think he'll be able to explain it a lot better than me.
A little birdie once told me that in the game of Football Manager, there is an attribute that helps to, trigger traits. Yes, an attribute. It seems that this little birdie came to me, told me that a player with a low teamwork rating doesn't really follow your team instructions. So it follows that a player with a low teamwork rating is also likely to use his traits a bit more. So the next time you go into a game of Football Manager and you've got this player who's got tries long range passes and you've set your team to short passing, I want you to tell me, does it seem like he's using those traits a bit more in the game? I'm curious to know.
So we're going to go through each different player role on the pitch, and we're going to decipher what I think is the best and worst player traits for that position. Now remember, this is only my opinion. You might think I'm bonkers with some of the decisions I'm going to make because I'm actually going back on what I said last year when I spoke about certain player traits, which is kind of interesting. But if you key them all up together, using player traits in certain positions on the pitch and then having player traits in other positions, I think you're going to create a lot more chances for your team going forward, but we'll work that out as we go along. Let's start off at centre-backs. Now we're taking a look at Ruben Diaz to begin with, a world-class centre-back in my opinion, because he has certain player traits that I think are amazing, and he has a couple that I don't actually like either. So let's take a look at it. Now first off, marks opponent tightly, and if we take a look at this, it increases the chance of a player being successful when he is asked to adopt tight marking in your tactic. Remember that. But his overall success is still controlled by his full set of attributes. So if he doesn't have good marking, good defensive positioning, maybe he's not very strong, he's not going to be good at marking altogether. Just because you give him the player trait that he marks opponents tightly doesn't mean that's it. He's going to become stuck to your opposition like glue. He still needs the good attributes. He still needs to be told in your tactic to mark opponents tightly. Of course, from set pieces, they'll just do it anyway. But if you're not telling in your tactic your defenders to mark their opponents, he's not just going to stand by the striker. He will drift away and play as the tactic suggests he should play. Another one that I really enjoy is brings ball out of defense, because time and time again, when you're looking for certain tactics, you kind of go long, you go direct. Sometimes you give the ball away too much, and especially with like the attackerless tactic is something that me and SNG had been working on recently. recently. Whether things like bring the ball out of defense, plays way out of trouble is another one, but I didn't put in this because sometimes you can cost yourself with that one. But brings the ball out of defense increases the likelihood of the defender running with the ball into midfield positions. So when a gap opens up, instead of just standing there like a lemon thinking everybody else is taken, there's a massive space in front of me, but I don't really want to run that way. Instead, I'm going to wait until a player comes to me. No. This means Ruben Dias will pick up the ball and he'll run into space and create an overload in midfield. And from that, a player will have to come towards him because else he's going to run through on the defense. And by then, whoever that player has left will be free. Ruben Dias can knock the ball there and it starts off an attack. Ideally, when you have a player that has decent control on the ball, for instance, dribbling, first touch, that type of stuff, and has an okay ability to pass, this is a very good player trait indeed. Now, one of the ones that I don't like on centre-backs, we also have here, argues with officials, increases the chances of a player showing dissent to the match official. That means a yellow card, that means a suspension. Unnecessary, not needed. Why would I want you to get yellow cards just for moaning at the referee? Let the manager do that. You can't, really, in Football Manager, but you would. In real life, you'd be like, why are you saying this? Let me have a go at the referee, because if I miss a game, it's a lot less important than if Ruben Dias misses a game. You're already getting yellow cards for tackles. Don't get yourself suspended because you're gobbling off to the referee. That's one of the ones that I hate to see in player traits. So please don't ever train somebody to do that. I don't know if you ever would, but don't ever train somebody to do that. Next up, we go over to fullback. Now, this guy's quite crucial in some ways, and some of the ones depends on the type of tactic you're going to be using. Owen Wijndal is a fantastic left back on this game, very young as well, and has a good potential ability. So if you do pick him up, he becomes one of the best left backs in the world. And if we take a look at some of his player traits, I like them. Now, if you're playing one of these tactics where you use your fullbacks in attacking purposes, maybe they are even wingbacks. For instance, you're playing 2 or 3 at the back where you have wingbacks going forward, maybe like a halfback in the middle. Player traits like gets forward whenever possible is amazing for you because it increases the frequency from which the player makes forward runs, adjusting from team mentality and the role they're playing. Obviously, if you have fullback on defend, he isn't going to go further forward despite having that player trait, because I do think it's tactic always first and then player trait. But if he has the option to say you can go forward if you want to, he will take that opportunity more times than not with this player trait. Now, that could be good for overloading on the right hand side of the defense for the opposition if you had Owen Wijndal right now. Of course, on the other side, it would be on the left. But obviously, that can leave you with some defensive frailties. If they start to counter-attack because you've lost the ball, he could be out of position. That depends then whether you have a player that has good teamwork, good pace and stamina, natural fitness to get back and help out your defense if you do lose the ball. But obviously, attacking attributes could be crucial for this. Gets forward whenever possible. Maybe good off the ball. Maybe good anticipation to see when it is the right time to go there. And of course, the one that we've mentioned time and time again, decisions. Make the right decisions. Decision making is so overlooked in attributes. People just ignore it, to be honest. It could be one of the most important attributes in the game. It might be. I don't actually know. Maybe Zealand has done a video about it. Surely he has. He's done a video about everything else. I'm guessing he would know. Is decision making important? Let me know down in the comments. In my opinion, of course, I think decision making is very important. If we move on to the centre defensive midfielder, I found Fernando when I was looking for the player traits that I actually like when I was just typing it in player search. He has all of the player traits that I love in a CDM. And I'm thinking, why have I never signed him before? I think I have in a rebuild before. But this is mental how good of attributes he has. So let's take a look at him. The player traits: tries killer balls often. Now, this is fantastic because it increases the frequency for which a player will attempt through balls. I love through balls because when you partner that with attributes that we're going to see later on for wingers and strikers, it's perfect for setting up goal scoring opportunities. Of course, it may mean that you will lose the ball more often, but if you do have a player, again, with good anticipation, composure, decision making mentally, vision as well, obviously crucial, and that passing ability, more often than not, he will make the right decisions when to play that killer ball, and it will get to your team. The second one is comes deep to get ball. Now, I don't really like that too much on a centre midfielder or even an attacking midfielder or even a striker. In fact, I hate comes deep to get ball on an attacker. But on a CDM, yes please, because then it gives you another option when you're passing it out from the back, and it just kind of, I guess it gives you a bit of security, doesn't it? At the back in your back two, if you only have a back two and that player drops in to make it a back three, you see it time and time again in real football, because then the pressing team will have to bring more players forward and it leaves gaps in front, so that then you can play those more direct passes, work your way at the pitch quicker. It actually leaves a lot of open space, and if you partner that with the next one, dictates the tempo, that's when you can change the tempo. This player is then the guy that triggers whether your midfield starts to slow things down, or whether it's, hold on, I can see a counter-attack here, let's go for it. Because you can see here from the explanation, it increases the chance of the player taking charge of predominantly midfield situations and using their attributes to influence the team's performance. By that, I'm guessing it means if you all of a sudden want to start a counter-attack through your team, this could be the guy that will start that through dictates the tempo. Fernando has them all. Because if you look at the first one, tries, killer balls often, through balls can be really good if you're high at the pitch. But what if you're not high at the pitch? What if you're like Fernando and you're quite deep? Then you need to be playing long through balls, correct? Tries, long range passes. If you see somebody who is making a run on the opposite side of the pitch, even sometimes, I like the breaks or switches ball to the other flank. That's also quite good. But these are the four that I really highlight as my favourite in CDM. Tries long range passes, increase the chance of a player attempting to pass the ball over long distances. That could be great. If you have great passing ability and you have players who are breaking offside trap up front or from the wings, you can start a very fast attack, and before your opponent knows it, you're in a one-on-one situation. In regards to CDMs, I guess dwells on the ball is one that I dislike for anybody, but it's one that came to mind when I was thinking of CDMs. But yeah, there's a few players in like centre-back position that has that, and even full-back, where they dwell on the ball too long. I don't want that on any midfielders, because that's when you get caught out in the midfield and a counter-attack against you starts. Now, moving further forward into that centre of midfield, we're not looking at the centre defensive midfield or centre attacking midfield, right slap bang in the middle, where the engine room, I guess, for your team. Players that want to be good coming back, but also going forward. The perfect guy for this for me is Thomas Souček. Now, from that West Ham rebuild, I realised this might be the trigger for where I realised player traits are so crucial. Because I put Thomas Souček in a Mazzala in attack role, and then I started seeing some absolute chaos. Because if you look at his attributes first, let's go attributes first and see where his strengths are. He has 14 for finishing as a centre mid. It's not bad, is it? He also has 18 for heading, but again, at the back, he's class. 15 for marking, tackling. He could play really good at centre back if you wanted him to, because he also has 15 for positioning, but he also has 15 for off the ball. What is this guy's weakness? I don't think he really has one. Agility of 9, maybe that's only it. Because mentally he has 15 in aggression, anticipation, bravery, composure, and concentration. Decision making is 16. And yet his teamwork and work rate is 17 and 18. It's mental how good this player is. But his natural fitness is 18, his stamina is 19, so he's not going to stop running either, and he has jump and reach of 17. How underrated is Thomas Souček? For a centre midfielder, the only weakness he has is passing ability, because his vision's only 10. But why does that matter when you're making the focal point of an attacking midfield? Because if we have him in the Mazzala on attack role, with gets forward whenever possible, which a player makes forward runs, a frequency of that, adjusting for team mentality, of course, but you have him on attack and you have an attacking mentality, he's going to keep making those runs, and this little beauty arrives late in the opponent's area. Let me take you to the tactic page and show you exactly why this is important. If we go to the tactic that I used him in, very similarly, which was this one. Advanced forward role is mainly to score goals, but if you take a look at the advanced forward role, it also mentions his secondary role is to chase down misplaced balls and lay off passes or crosses for his teammates. How many times have you found your advanced forward in this situation here, where they get to the byline, they cut back, and they have to pass it back to somebody, but there's nobody there, so they pass it back out here and your attack is wasted, or you get counter-attacked, or whatever. What's the beauty about those player traits on Thomas Souček? And when you're using a player like Thomas Souček, what you'll see is if your advanced forward picks up the ball and he is close to the edge of the box but on the byline and he has to cut a ball back, you will see Thomas Souček, and I promise you now, because I've seen it so many times in the West Ham rebuild, he'll be stirred around about here. He'll be arriving as he turns around, because he's timed it so well, arriving late in the opposition area, getting forward whenever possible. And if your advanced forward finds him with a pass, he has 14 for finishing, 15 for composure, chances are he's going to score. And if he whips in a cross and it's high, Tomas Souček is like, what, 6'4", 17 jump and reach, 15 bravery and 18 heading? Not many other players is going to beat him to the ball with that. That's why I think Tomas Souček is one of the best centre midfielders on the game, but he has amazing player traits that I absolutely love. Now, you may laugh, but Timo Werner for me has the perfect player traits for a winger. A lot of them are great for strikers too, but what I love to see is when I drafted him recently in a draft competition, PvP, on Twitch, twitch.tv/MegaLukeGaming, Timo Werner, when I put in all the player traits that I wanted for a wide player, was the guy to go to. Let's take a look at it. Likes to beat the offside trap. Straight away, it's obvious the reason why. The frequency in which a player will look to make runs in behind the defence, and success is determined by his other attributes. That's a key point. It's all well and good having likes to break the offside trap, but if they have like 9 off the ball, they're not very quick. They also can't anticipate anything. They're not really going to break any offside trap. They're just going to get caught offside. But when you have fantastic pace of acceleration, 18, pace, 18, 16 off the ball. Now, his anticipation could be higher, 13. His decision making maybe as well, of 11. But how many times have you ever used Timo Werner and he's in a one-on-one situation? Because he has likes to break the offside trap, which is fantastic for me, because if you're cutting inside from that wing, the centre-back's not marking you, they're not seeing it. The full-back always falls asleep, concentration's lower, and there you are, you're in on goal, which is great. But what else does he have? Well, if he has the ball and you give the ball to his feet, with his 18 acceleration, decent agility and balance, he has knocks ball past opponent. As soon as the defender comes towards him, he'll knock it past him and run past him and get onto the ball first, meaning that he's bypassed that defender and he has an opportunity to cross the ball. Maybe it's a shot, who knows? But he's in that position because of what he's done. The chances of a player looking to beat his man for sheer pace and athleticism by knocking the ball past him and running onto it. It might be worth looking at what I am doing right now and hovering over these player traits and just getting an understanding a little bit more, because once I started doing that, I start to pick up things. As soon as I see a player that I've signed for my team and I think, right, I need to add a player trait or two to him, I look and go, that's exactly what I need to add now, because I know off by heart what player traits work with certain attributes now. And in time, you will too. But a player trait that most recently I've started to absolutely adore is likes to round the goalkeeper. Now, this increases the likelihood of a player looking to go around the goalkeeper in one-on-one situations. How many times have you gone one-on-one with a goalkeeper and he's tried shooting before the before he's got to the goalkeeper, it's gone wide, the keeper saved it, maybe he's tried placing the shot and it's really weak? Don't you just hate it? But how great is it when they go through one-on-one and they take it around the goalkeeper and knock it into an empty net? It's beautiful to watch. It looks amazing. You look like you've mugged the goalkeeper off and there are all the defenders there as well. That's why I love that player trait, because it takes out players that don't have the best finishing, especially when you get wingers. A lot of them have like great dribbling ability, acceleration, agility, balance, and then they have finishing of 9 or lower. And you're like, I wonder why he isn't scoring so many. But if he still has that good dribbling ability, physicals, attributes of acceleration, agility and balance, maybe he has decent composure and decision makings too. And anticipation. He needs to anticipate when the goalkeeper goes to ground. Remember that part too. He can go around the goalkeeper with ease and just hit it into an empty net. That's why I love this player trait. But a player trait that I dislike for both wingers and centre attacking midfielders is this one. Plays no through balls. The opposite to try killer balls often. Because that suggests you're playing a tiki-taka style and you're trying to break a team down by passing them to death. Whereas I want quick counter-attacks. So in my personal opinion, I hate this player trait. I want my players to play through balls. I want them to try and break the offside trap so they have a one-on-one situation, because chances are that's going to be easier to score. I'm going to make more of those opportunities than I would if I was trying to pass a team to death just to cut it back. That happens anyway, even when I have those player traits set to making those through balls. So I cannot stand that player trait. Another one that I dislike for both centre attack midfield and on the wings, likes to beat the opponent repeatedly. Why go past an opponent and come back and try and beat him again and embarrass him, only to embarrass yourself because you've lost the ball? When if you already went past him the first time, you've embarrassed him, the crowd cheer, you look amazing, and you can lay it off to somebody to shoot. Makes no sense. Now, the centre attacking midfielder that I think has great player traits is Lucas Robertoni. Now, he's in the second division of Spain. He's quite young as well, so maybe somebody to pick up, because the player traits of gets into opposition area is very similar to the one that Tomas Souček had. He will arrive in the opposition area more frequently than others from deeper positions, as you can see here. That's fantastic for those cutbacks when your attacker gets the ball, turns back, and there's nobody there. Also, he moves into channels. If you're playing him center attacking midfielder, when they move into channels, it creates overloads. Please don't train your strikers to do that if you're not going to have any runners into the box, because if you didn't have somebody like Lucas Robertoni who gets into opposition area, and you have a center attacking midfielder who likes to come deep to get the ball, he comes deep to get the ball, he plays your attacking midfield, or your striker, sorry, who's playing in the channels now because he moves into channels. He picks up the ball in the channels. Where's he going to go? Who's he going to pass to? There's nobody in the box. Nobody's made that run. He's going to have to go backwards. Instead, have players like your center attacking midfielders have options like moves into the channels, roam from the position. That creates the overloads on the wings. Quick 1-2. You've bypassed the fullback. You have a cut back there for your striker, who is still stood inside the box, doing what he does best, ready to score goals. And of course, he has tries, killer balls, often. Perfect. We know through balls. He's higher at the pitch. His through balls probably mean more goals. Striker-wise, one of my favourite on the game is Chiro Mobley. He has some player traits that I absolutely love, and he has some player traits that I absolutely despise now. We spoke about one of them already. Moves into the channels. I dislike it on a striker. I really do. That's the main reason why I use a poacher role now instead of an advanced forward. Advanced forward has a secondary role to create shots. I don't want that. I want the actual striker to be the one scoring. That's why I select poacher now, and I have all the players around him looking to create the opportunity, like moves into channels in my center attacking midfielders. So I don't want my striker moving into the channels and allowing players to make forward runs unless I have those players that actually like to make forward runs. It's just easier not to have it, in all honesty. So let's take a look at what he does have that I absolutely love. Gets forward whenever possible. Perfect. We know that's great, especially if he's a striker. He wants to get forward as much as he possibly can. Likes to beat the offside trap. We've already spoke about how important it is. It's probably even more important for a striker than it is a winger to have likes to beat the offside trap, because if they do have good pace, anticipation off the ball, he's going to make a lot of opportunities for himself one-on-one situations. And it's down to you whether you like to use chip shots, because I like chip shots. One thing I don't like using is places shots, and guess what Chiro Mobley has? He has places shots. Why don't I like places shots? Let's read it. It increases the chances of a player opting to place his shots with accuracy rather than power to them. How many times have your player with places shots gone through on goal and passed it straight at the goalkeeper? Because for me, it happens way too often. That's why I prefer things like chip the goalkeeper. Every time I chip the goalkeeper, if it hits the bar, goes over, it's just disappointing, obviously, but how many times does it actually drop in the net and you made the keeper look like a mug? It seems to be a lot more successful than what player shots does, what places shots does. Sometimes like blast ball's quite good, but Lorenzo Lucas sometimes when I had it used to smash it into Rosette. Places shots, I just dislike it. I would rather, if I had a good striker, I mean Chiro Mobley could do it to be fair, because he has 13 dribbling, his composure is amazing, good acceleration, agility and balance. I'd rather take it around the goalkeeper. Honestly, I would, and head it into an empty net. I think he would score more. I really, really do, than place his shots. I'd rather just not have anything. Unless one situation, place his shots, curls ball, good technique. The combination of the three, maybe. I would need to test it, but theoretically, if he has good technique, he can curl a ball, and he has place his shots. In my opinion, he should be able to curl it away from the goalkeeper. But that's just my theory. That's just my theory. What do you think? I've gone for every single player trait, what I think is good, what I think is bad for every different role on the pitch other than the goalkeeper. I want to know your opinions. What player traits do you like using on what players? On what positions? Massive thank you as well to all the Patreon members who have been signing up recently. So many of you. We're almost at the point now where I can physically do this full time after the Facebook contract expires, because of you lovely people supporting me financially as a content creator for just £5 a month, which is the price of a pint. And you get so many things for it. The saved game files for video experiments, for rebuilds. Of course, you get to vote on the rebuilds and early access videos. So honestly, I really do appreciate everybody that's signed up. There is a yearly option as well. You can sign up straight away for the next year at a much cheaper cost if you really wish to, but it's a payment up front. A couple of you have took that offer up already, and I really do appreciate that. And that is page.com/Megaloot Gaming. So thank you very much. And also big thank you to Bust the Net for your help on this video. Appreciate that. The link for his channel will be down below. Make sure you check it out. I've been learning so much about passing directness, pressing intensity, just in my tactics recently. You might have noticed me talk about it a lot. That's from watching this man's videos, because he is a genius on the match engine. He always has been. I'm sure you've heard of Dalgit. He is incredible. So smash a like on the video if you can. That would be perfect. Let me know your favorite player traits down below. Subscribe if you haven't done so. If that button is red, I want you to turn it gray. Thank you very much. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.